starts right now.
A new leader at the helm at Uvalde CISD. For the first time, its interim superintendent discusses his goals for the district and how he's hoping to rebuild trust after the failed response at Robb Elementary.
Harry Styles, Casey Musgraves, Lin-Manuel Miranda are big supporters. Will they sway Texas voters? We sit down with Beto O'Rourke as his campaign for governor hits its final days.
Plus, a shooting in San Antonio ends with the victims found at an IHOP hours away. The mystery that Houston police are trying to solve. But first, for the first time, Uvalde CISD's interim superintendent is speaking with KSAT 12 about his newly appointed role in that district.
Gary Patterson, appointed by the board at their last meeting on October 19th. The night team's Lee Waldman joins us live in Uvalde tonight. All right, Lee, today's his second day on the job.
His second day, his official start date was actually Tuesday, but Patterson tells me in our sit-down conversation that Dr. Hal Harrell, the former superintendent, has been showing him the ropes for the past 10 days, taking him to the different campuses and introducing him to staff. We know Patterson has 44 years in education under his belt. With the past few years, he's been working with Walsh Gallegos to be placed in different districts throughout our area as interim superintendent. Patterson says when he heard Dr. Harrell would be retiring, he asked to be brought into Uvalde CISD. Now, in our sit-down conversation, Patterson says he knows there's a lot of work to be done to restore trust in the district after what happened on May 24th and in the 5 months that have followed. One of his main focuses moving forward is transparency. In that light, he shared an update on the Texas Police Chiefs Association's management and organizational review of the district police department that was announced on August 29th. Patterson says that it's close to completion and will help the district with their police department moving forward.
The building plan.
Eliana A. Torres.
21 families gathered at the Hillcrest Cemetery, ofrendas, welcoming their loved ones home.
Thank you, baby.
10-year-old Caitlin Gonzalez bringing her best friend Jackie homemade pancakes. They were something Caitlin's mom made for her. At Eva Morales' grave, her husband and daughter made her altar with pictures, birds like she had on their Christmas tree, and diamonds.
Annabelle Guadalupe Rodriguez. Jackie Cáceres, Maite Rodriguez.
For many of these families, it's their first time celebrating Dia de los Muertos. Together they marched, honoring each altar, holding pictures of the departed.
Jayla Nicole Silguero, Amory Joe Garza, Alexandria Lexi Rubio.
This family coming together to mourn, to pray, to love, and most importantly, to remember.
Alicia Ramirez, Eva Mireles, and Irma Garcia. Remember their names.
The families tell me they needed tonight together to be with one another. Now, tomorrow, a group of them are going to be meeting with Gary Patterson to talk about what they want moving forward. We'll have more of our sit-down conversation with the new interim superintendent tomorrow at 5 p.m. Live in Uvalde, Lee Waldman, KSAT 12 News.
Remember their names. Thank you, Lee. Well, in the heated race for governor, Democratic candidate Beto O'Rourke was also in Uvalde today speaking with voters. It's one of the many stops he's made on his crisscross tour of Texas. We also caught up with him in Houston during his campaign push. And the question is Is the third time the charm, or is it 3 strikes and you're out? Beto O'Rourke has run for 3 elected positions in 4 years: U.S. Senate, President, and now Governor. Tonight, he sits down with me one-on-one to talk Uvalde, the border, and one question that clearly caught him off guard.
I just want to make sure everyone knows that whether you vote for me or not, I am for you.
Beto O'Rourke, our next governor of Texas.
In a Houston venue built for everything from live bands to lucha libre,
how we doing?
Beto O'Rourke is making his closing arguments.
You all ready to win this election?
You guys ready? You ready, Sal?
Just minutes before he takes center stage,
It's coming through okay?
a chance to catch up with a candidate that seems to be in constant campaign mode.
Everywhere. There's no county too small, too rural, too Republican for me to show up.
Governor Greg Abbott It's a deficit the O'Rourke campaign and their reported 95,000 volunteers has since erased.
A big driver for turnout and for the excitement and enthusiasm of voters out there in Texas has to do with Greg Abbott signing the most extreme abortion bill in America.
It is you and me. It's all of us together here in Texas. We're going to.
How do you differ with the president when it comes to immigration?
We have failure in this country, and certainly here in Texas when it comes to immigration.
One of his ideas is to have a Texas-based guest worker program designed to help migrants and companies who need workers. What you'll also find at a lot of his campaign stops, families who lost loved ones in Uvalde.
And I know from watching them and seeing the look on their face how painful this is to talk about this experience, to talk about what they have lost, to talk about their children, and yet they're willing to do it to make sure that this doesn't happen again in Texas.
The O'Rourke-Abbott campaign is receiving national attention. Their one and only debate was trending on Twitter. O'Rourke has received endorsements from people like Casey Musgraves, Harry Styles, and tonight, Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Because Beto's a better man than me, and he has been to every county in Texas. He's going to shake hands.
We just got to make the most of it, and we got to win.
Biggest misconception about Beto O'Rourke?
You know, I wouldn't even know what it is, and I'm loath to raise it for fear of reinforcing it. But at a time of extremism in American politics, we have a governor right now who's at the extreme fringe of his party, and I don't think that's reflective of Texas. What we want is to return to the center.
Now, we asked both candidates to sit down with us and do one-on-one interviews. Only Beto O'Rourke took us up on that request. Now, that doesn't mean we won't hear from the governor. As a matter of fact, tomorrow he is in Bexar County, and we'll hear from Governor Greg Abbott tomorrow night on the Nightbeat. By the way, if you want to see the entire interview with Beto O'Rourke unedited, it's the latest installment of Spriester Sessions right now on KSAT.com.
All right, so now while Steve just said that, you have 2 days to vote early. As of today, the Bexar County Elections Department is showing more than 274,000 people have voted. Your last day to vote early this Friday. Election Day is this coming Tuesday, November 8th. If you want a list of voting locations and times, or even if you want to look at the ballot, just scan that QR code that you see on your screen. From there, it'll take you straight to our Vote 2022 election page on KSAT.com.
Right now, Bexar County Sheriff's deputies are looking for a man who needs help. Austin Travis Wiseman was last seen Sunday morning in Somerset, near Somerset Road and 9th Street. Deputies say he was expected to go into work, but he never showed up. He was last seen driving a 2013 red Cadillac ATS, the license plate RJM 7823. If you know where Wiseman is, call the Sheriff's Office at 210-335-6000. Now to a shooting investigation connecting San Antonio to Houston. Officers say 2 people showed up with gunshot wounds at an IHOP in West Houston. They told police they escaped their human smugglers after they were shot in San Antonio.
Based on what the victims are telling us, the shooting happened about 2 hours west of here, around I-10 and State Highway 35, which is in the San Antonio area, but we're not exactly sure where the shooting occurred.
Now, Houston police say another shooting victim showed up at the hospital. All three expected to be okay. Those victims shot in their arms and legs. Police say a fourth may still be unaccounted for. Officers also stopped 2 vehicles leaving the scene. They say a total of 9 people detained. It's unclear, though, who are victims and who are suspects in this case. We asked San Antonio police about this whole incident. We're waiting to hear back.
Be careful who you give your cell phone to. Bottom line, that's the lesson here. San Antonio police say that a car salesman looked through a customer's phone and accessed her photos, then sent them to himself. Now, 25-year-old Connor McFarland Griffin is charged with invasive visual recording. Police say that a woman gave Griffin her phone during a business interaction. Investigators say Griffin then accessed her intimate pictures. And now they're worried there could be more victims because he worked at several dealerships in the San Antonio and Schertz areas. So anybody with information can call 210-207-2370.
The jumbo jackpot just continues to grow tonight. Grab those tickets. We're going to check in on the winning numbers for the $1.2 billion prize.
Did you say billion?
Billion.
Billion. Plus, inflation could change Thanksgiving traditions this year. What you and your family may want to consider to cut costs without cutting out all the trimmings.
And an iconic dance hall in San Antonio burned to the ground. Tonight, the head DJ returns to the scene to see the mangled metal and debris left behind.
It was a wonderful, prestigious building, establishment, and career for myself, too. So.
That building held so much even after it closed down several years ago. Why this DJ says he wasn't able to get those belongings out before today's fire hit. It's next on the Nightbeat. Several decades worth of memories burned to the ground in San Antonio. Throughout the day, people have returned to the dance hall known as Midnight Rodeo, including a head DJ there who shared a personal connection.
This was the Titanic that sank in San Antonio at the corner of Thousand Oaks and Nacogdoches Road, which is called Midnight Rodeo.
Pete Anderberg worked there for more than 30 years. He, like many others, came to see what was left after this devastating fire. Couples came by to see where they first met or the shows they saw there. Brooks and Dunn played at Midnight Rodeo. The dance hall stopped business in 2019, but it wasn't empty. There was a full bar of alcohol, paperwork, and Anderberg told our Courtney Friedman so much more.
I had a lot of personal stuff still in there, yeah. So
it's why is that? Why did you have it 3 years ago?
When we got locked out, we couldn't get back in. So we got to go in for 10 minutes each to get our stuff out. And I've been here 34 years. I can't get everything out in 10 minutes. So.
He still calls his former co-worker's family. Investigators trying to figure out how that fire started. The debris will need to be cleared away eventually. The city has a meeting set up with property owners this coming Monday.
Wow. Okay, now we're going to talk about your money. So inflation will likely impact Thanksgiving traditions this year. Analysts say that the prices at the grocery store are actually higher than restaurant prices. So some people may want to consider eating Thanksgiving dinner out to save money. Listen to turkey prices here. They're up 23% this year. The market research firm IRI says that promotions in the coming weeks could help lower those costs, but IRI doesn't expect that to sway prices too heavily. Now, the fight against inflation has the feds making a familiar move that we've all seen before. For the fourth time in a row, they've raised the interest rate by 0.75%. So that means it's going to cost you more to borrow money. And it's led more home buyers to pause their plans. And here's why. According to the lending giant Freddie Mac, the 30-year fixed rate mortgage averaged more than 7% in the week ending October 27. 7%. Now, you compare that to a year ago when the 30-year fixed rate stood at 3.14%, a lot less.
Let's switch gears now to how about another number, $1.2 billion. That's how many dollars are on the line during the jackpot tonight. Here are the numbers for tonight's Powerball drawing: 2, 11, 22, 35, 60. The Powerball is 23. Good luck.
Yes, good luck to you. All right, let's get all that out of the way. Here's something that San Antonians are looking forward to. Organizers of the annual Raul Jimenez Thanksgiving dinner, remember that? Yeah, they say that the tradition is going to be held in person once again this year. Of course, during the pandemic, meals had to be delivered to people's homes, but this year, people are going to be able to sit down and have a Thanksgiving meal at the Henry B. Gonzalez Convention Center. The Jimenez family says that food costs are rising, but so are the donations. The annual holiday tradition is set for November 24th.
That's one of those traditions that I really just think shows what San Antonio is all about.
Oh, yeah, helping each other out, coming together, big
Absolutely.
time.
Meanwhile,
another tradition here.
Yeah, Dia de los Muertos. This is one of the altars at the Pearl tonight.
Beautiful. Look at those marigolds. 71 degrees out there right now. Adam, tell us what else is going on.
Well, we're going to have more fog to deal with tomorrow morning, and it's that time of year with the longer nights that we have. It gives fog longer to develop, more of an opportunity. And when you have the kind of humidity that we have now, anticipate reduced visibility for the morning commute. We'll have some of that fog to start the day, along with some sprinkles and just overall a bit of dampness out there, but it's not going to add up to anything, unfortunately. Humid except for the weekend. And then a storm chance still Friday evening. Let's get right to it with those rain and storm chances. You notice that 20% chance Thursday and Friday? That's really just for a few sprinkles. That's about it. A few sprinkles here and there, not adding up to anything. But Friday evening, that's when we could actually have a few thunderstorms pop up. Basically, a thin line of storms is what we're expecting Friday evening. As for rainfall accumulations, we don't anticipate a whole lot to develop with it. So here's the big picture. Let's take a look at what's happening out there. And notice this big dip in the upper level flow over the western U.S. That's our next system. That's our next trough. It's already stirring up activity. Lower elevation rain, higher elevation snow over the western U.S. And that's going to be dropping our way. However, I think the bulk of the energy with this system will stay to the north of us. So we'll be right on the tail end of a line of storms that's going to develop along the cold front. So breaking it down for you, this is what we're expecting Friday evening. Timing, 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. A thin line of storms, brief, moving on through town, not even hitting everybody. And overall minimal rainfall. If you're lucky enough to see the rain, maybe a quarter of an inch. East of San Antonio, slightly higher amounts possible. What we're watching for is the off chance of a severe thunderstorm. There is that small potential that we could see a rogue severe storm. All right, here's the big picture outside right now. And you see the low clouds are already in place. Look, it looks a little misty off in the distance because it is. Air temperature 72, dew point is 66. Those two temperatures are going to be meeting tonight, and that means fog. So here's our future cast for visibility and fog tomorrow morning for the commute. Probably visibility is down to 2 miles or even less in some instances, and that's going to be the case just throughout the entire morning commute. But by 10 a.m., that's when visibilities improve, and that's when we start to see the sun start to break out and begin to clear some of those clouds in parts of our area. Tomorrow morning, we'll start the day in the upper 60s. By the afternoon, we make it into the low to mid 80s. Bernie 81, 83 Converse, Poteet at 84. Again, dreary in the morning, a little damp. Could be some issues for the commute. By the afternoon, that's when we've got sunshine and a high temperature of 83. Noticeable humidity except for the weekend. In turn, morning fog again Friday, a little bit of dampness, that 30% chance of storms Friday evening. Again, very brief disruptions, if any, Friday evening.
Thank you.
All right, Greg, I'm chalking up tonight to injuries catching up with them.
Well, that, and this is kind of what we thought was going to happen to begin with in the season because they're so young. But I think you have to take into effect all these injuries, including Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson, two of their mainstays in the starting lineup. When we come back, more about the Spurs loss tonight. That is, by the way, the biggest loss in the Greg Popovich era. And what has impressed the Brahmas' new coach? Coming up. The very short-handed Spurs facing the Toronto Raptors. No Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Isaiah Roby, or Blake Wesley for the Silver and Black tonight. Spurs got off to a rocky start, going 0 for 4 with 3 turnovers that led to Raptors' 11-point lead midway through the first. But here come the Spurs. Romeo Langford for the 3. Then it's Doug McDermott from the corner for another 3. Spurs on a 10-0 run. They get within 1 going into the second quarter. Trey Jones comes up with a big-time steal. He's going the other way and finishes with a finger roll, and the Spurs take a 1-point lead. Keita Bates-Diop stops a Toronto 12-2 run with a bucket right here, but the Raptors keep up the pressure. Another Spurs turnover leads to fast break dunk by Chris Bouchard, and the Raptors lead by 15 at the break. Bates-Diop doing everything he can to keep this game from getting out of hand. He nails a wide-open three-pointer from near the sideline. Then he drives to the hoop and puts it up and in. He led San Antonio with 17 points, but the Raptors have too much firepower. They led by as many as 36 points in the third, and then by as many as 48 in the fourth. Had 7 players in double figures. Spurs fall 143-100. This is the team's largest loss in the Greg Popovich era.
Minutes are the best thing for young guys so they can see
what they're doing well, what they can do better, that sort of thing. So they tried hard, but they were up against something that's a little bit different for them.
They switched 1 through 5. They denied passing lanes. We got to get better with moving off the ball and backdooring. But that's a really good veteran team. That was a good test for us. I think it's clearly the best team we probably played all year, and that was a good test for us.
All right, next up, the Clippers come calling. This will be on Friday at 7 p.m.
Pro football coverage, powered by Davis Law Firm.
Look who's in town today. The new head coach of the San Antonio Brahmas, Hines Ward, the former Pittsburgh Steeler great. A meet and greet tonight at the Yard House on Commerce Street after the team mascot and colors were announced earlier this week. What you may not have known is that Ward worked for the Alliance of American Football as a player relations executive and caught one of the games in the Alamodome for the San Antonio Commanders. He was floored with the amount of fans that flooded into their games, averaging 28,000, which is more than double of any other team in the AAF. And he wants to bring that back to San Antonio.
I feel bad for the fans in the sense that it felt like somebody ripped the carpet off from underneath them and took away the football team. And, I saw the growth, I saw the excitement, I saw the passion that the fans have for the Commanders, and that's something, partly the reason why I wanted to be the head coach in San Antonio. I felt that connection, and like I said, it just reminds me so much of my time in Pittsburgh when I was playing, the way the city has a connection with their football team.
That's pretty cool. We hadn't heard that before. Training camps will be held in Arlington, but the season starts the week after the Super Bowl on February the 18th with all home games in the Alamo Dome. It appears the Snyders are considering the possibility of selling the Washington Commanders. That's after they hired Bank of America Securities to explore their options. The team has been in turmoil since an ESPN report detailed a toxic workplace culture under the current ownership, prompting investigations by Congress and the attorneys general of both Virginia and Washington, D.C. for alleged financial improprieties, which the team has denied. Daniel and Tanya Snyder announcing they have hired the bank to explore potential transactions involving the team. If they do decide to sell the team, they would require the approval of 3/4 of the NFL owners, which would be 24 of the 32 teams. Potential weather-related problems on Friday are getting some teams to move up their high school football games to Thursday. Next. The UTSA Roadrunners continue to prepare for their toughest road test of the season when they face the University of Alabama at Birmingham this Saturday. Remember, the Roadrunners clinched the Conference USA West Division title and a seat at the Conference USA Championship after beating the Blazers last year in the Alamodome. It was a close one, 34-31. This year, UTSA's defense has improved as the season has gone on. 38.6 points per game over the first 3 games of the season compared to only giving up 23.8 points per game over their 5-game win streak. Coach Jeff Traylor says taking their lumps at the beginning of the season has prepared them for their big conference matchups.
Well, I think we've gotten better every week on defense. We just played really good teams, and I've said it all year. I do believe that those losses early in the year and all the injuries, nobody wants to go through that in life, but it's just, I think it's going to make us stronger. I think it's going to help us on this road. This is going to be a tough game Saturday, and I think we're prepared for it. I really do, because of what we've been through.
All right, kickoff on the road this Saturday against UAB will be at 2:30. And concerns about some inclement weather moving into this area on Friday night has caused some teams to change their games and move them up from Friday to Thursday. It includes Antonian at Houston St. Thomas. That'll be Thursday now at 6. Bernie Geneva and Holy Cross have moved their game up to Thursday at 7 p.m. at Holy Cross. Elsewhere, Veterans Memorial will be at Cedar Creek. That's Thursday now at 7. And Judson and New Braunfels has now moved up to Thursday night at Unicorn Stadium at 7:30. Major League Baseball, the Houston Astros have gotten even with a big run of their own tonight, 5-0 over the Phillies to even up the best-of-7 series at 2 games apiece. So what started out as best-of-7 is now best-of-3, with the Astros having a tad advantage now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Greg.
And we'll be right back after this.
That's it for the Night Beat. Good Morning San Antonio starts at 4:30.
Have a beautiful night. We'll see you tomorrow. Good night.